Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings and welcome, everybody. Viewers, listeners, podcasters, whoever you might be. I'm Mohammed Ismail on Salam Media and also broadcasting on Radio Al Ansar. Our topic tonight: Durban Unrest. At what cost and to who? My producer is Sadiq Joseph. Where do we go to from here? Can we salvage the country? Are we headed for worse, or is the worst over? The aftermath. At what cost and to who? The looting continued unabated. Businesses were razed to the ground while looters went on a rampage. The agenda of politics and crime overlaps. President Cyril Ramaphosa, who flew in and flew out like a whirlwind in Durban today, is back at his headquarters or wherever he might be, and he's going to be addressing the nation at 8:30. I'm not expecting much, but let's be hopeful. And what is worse is the anti-Indian sentiment that is going viral on social media platforms. At the same time, the international community of Afghanistan and Syria in the refugee camps of Lebanon, among others, have sent messages of support to South Africa, and yet their very own countries are in tatters. What we saw here in KwaZulu-Natal, and yet I cannot imagine what those people are going through in the other countries, was really bad. It was unprecedented and was absolutely unexpected. I'm still overwhelmed, I'm still anxious, and I'm sure my guests are too. While community volunteers have taken to the streets, the tension is settling a little bit, but you can still feel there's something that's not right in this beautiful country of ours. The nagging questions: why must we do the job of the police, and why must we clean up the mess afterwards? In other words, I will always say the president and the minister of police have failed us as a community. Let's get into it. But before that, I just want to give you a quick update from the South African Police Service. They sent something to me tonight as the media. They say since the last update of yesterday afternoon, the situation in the two provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng is gradually but firmly returning to normality. Overnight, since the last 3 hours, there were a few incidents that have been reported. In KwaZulu-Natal itself, there was 1,488 cases reported with 89 deaths cumulative, 214 arrests, and they say that law enforcement agencies are full out. But have you seen these law enforcement agencies in your communities? The police and the Metro and the South African National Defence Force. Some have seen them, others have not. We're still looking for them in Overport. I don't know where they've gone to. They're talking about the recovery of stolen goods, that informers are telling them where the stolen goods are and where, so they can go and recover it and probably return it to its rightful owners. The opening of major economic corridors, there is a lot of police presence along the N3s and the N3 and the N2, and also that the South African road services will be repairing roads. And hopefully we will then be a little bit more settled as we are here in the country. My guests, I've got some lovely guests here tonight, as always. Janus from the Mayville Community Police Forum, Mayville SEPS Community Police Forum. Sylvia Dayalan, journalist at Tabloid Media. She's been holed up in Phoenix, from where she has been reporting. Community activist Yusuf Ahmed Bulbulia from Lenasia, that's Johannesburg, Gauteng. I might tell you, Gauteng. I'm smiling because he's a friend of mine as well. And Nisa said, our lady Nisa has quite a portfolio. And if I can just tell everybody, she's represents the African Union Interfaith Dialogue Forum Steering Committee, representing South Africa, the South African Coordinator of Global Network of Religions for Children, international trainer on ethics education and learning to live together. Remember, that's so important, learning to live together, and Global Network on Religions for Children. I want to start with Nisa. Learning to live together. Have we learned to live together as South Africans? And if we did, is this now eroded? Do we need to relearn? Do we need to relearn to live together?
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Shalom, salam, peace, ukutula. As you mentioned in the introduction, that many of us try our level best from our own ethical background of our religion, as well as what we went through in South Africa during apartheid, and how we together as South Africans built our nation. Alhamdulillah, prior to apartheid, religious leaders got together to address the challenges that we face on race, ethnicity, discrimination. And we continue on that light. But Arigato International, a Japanese-based NGO, thought about looking at globally how we can live together in harmony, in peace, and all faith communities have this in our Quran, Torah, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and all our religious teachings, that we are the children of God Almighty. We have a purpose on earth, and that is to live in harmony and live together. At this moment in time, we look at one of the kiosks on learning to live together is we South Africans have to put ourselves into the shoes of others. As you heard, many people have said, not in our wildest dream or imagination, we thought this would be what we see in the last few days. And you know that my province has been the worst hit. And my area, Overport, has been by the fear that has been instilled in all people. But my main concern is our children. And when I talk about our children, I talk about children in general. I work with children. I work with children in the informal settlement. And we're looking at how we, from our religious teaching, from our knowledge of what apartheid did to us, bringing all these together to say we are the children who have the same color of blood and we have the same needs. And why do we bring about these differences? Like you mentioned, anger. But what we need to look at is how we begin to empathize with those that have been hard hit. And although
Okay,
this
so
has
Nisa, I'm
become
going to interrupt you there. I need to get to the other guests, right? I want you to hold that thought because I want to unpack with you the social impact on children in this aftermath. Please hold that thought in case I forget to ask you that question. We want to talk about the children. Very, very important. Janus, welcome to the show. You have slept 8 hours in the last week. You have been in the hotbed of protests. There were threats where your guest house was going to be burnt down and you had to call in reinforcements. Police were, well, few and far between. What's happening there now? Tell us your experience, Janus. Yeah, I understand. It says it all.
It's been unreal. It's been something you could never imagine. And, you know, when you're under attack and your house and your family and your business under attack, and I'm busy out with the guys at Overport trying to save factories and buildings, and then my wife phones me and says, you must come home urgently and you can't get home. I tell you, I am so grateful for the Muslim community and Overport, Imtiaz said, eThekwini Secure, the guys from DRK, Magma, all those guys coming out and assisting me to be able to get back to my business, to save my business, because I phone the police, they don't have staff. I phone Metro Police and I get told, sorry, we would love to help you, but we just don't have resources to assist.
That must have been absolutely scary when you got the phone call from your wife to say, rush back. You know, we've been on the ground, Janus, and I was overwhelmed and I was anxious at every single moment. But that must have been one of the most horrifying moments in your life. Tell me about that.
I mean, you don't know what to do. How do you get to your wife? I mean, I've got a child with Down syndrome. He's at home. He's petrified. I mean, he doesn't like anything out of the norm. And there's gunshots going off. People are breaking off. They're stoning your house. It was, yeah, it was the biggest relief eventually when I could get back home. And yeah, I must say, We've done a lot. We know we were not prepared. The police admit they were not prepared. They only received their rubber bullets yesterday or the day before. So, it's a thing where there's a lot of questions to be asked.
Absolutely. Hold it right there. I want to get on to Yusuf Bulbulia from Lenasia. Yusuf, how's it been going there in your guys' part of town? It's been a little bit quiet. I do understand that you have had some threats coming through. Are you guys settled there? Is the situation in Gauteng or Lenasia as bad as it is here in Durban? I think your mic is off.
Okay, I think I'm back now. All right. Lenasia was one of the areas that were hit, not as bad as in Durban or Melbourne in Johannesburg. Lenasia is surrounded by informal settlements, so that fear was there that that looters are going to come in and that. But most of the informal settlements in Lenasia advise that they will not loot and they will not harm anyone. On Monday evening, we did have some issues and that, and people were out. And actually, every night, everyone is still out because they are still scared. Patrollers are scared. CPF is patrollers are out. CPF is out. The public is out because they are quite worried and scared that it's too basically. In Lenasia, when it's too calm, people get a bit too worried because, as I say before, it's quite calm before the storm. And I think a lot of people are worried about that. And for myself personally, I stay right opposite one of the informal settlements. And basically every night from around 7, 8 o'clock right until 5 o'clock in the morning, we're out and about with other patrollers and that. And I work in Soweto as well. And I'm normally at work at 7 o'clock in the morning till about 4 or 5 o'clock. But unfortunately, this week we went a little late and we came home early because the threat has been there to say that, they are going to attack the Indians and basically the non-black businesses and people. And not far from where I work, I actually work across one of the police stations. And down the road from there's a supermarket. And on Tuesday, they emptied the supermarket completely. And some of the people that we have seen and that were actually walking with this huge cones that you see in the parking lot, they were actually walking away with that. So they didn't leave anything. They didn't leave anything behind, even shelves. I'm talking, this is, I think it's called a superstore supermarket. They actually stole the shelves in that, so it's basically just a shell.
Yusuf, tell me, there was some threat on one of the largest malls there in Soweto, the Moponia Mall, and I do believe that there was some calls for assistance from members of the community in Lenasia to go out there and stand off. Is this true?
Yes, it is true. A lot of the malls in Lenasia, or sorry, not all in Lenasia, in Gauteng, the mall owners, security guards, CPF, and a lot of the public, more so the public, have come and they've stood as human shields to these malls and that, and they've made it clear that this is basically our bread and butter. They supply us things. They supply us groceries. They do things for us. So we will not allow them to get into our malls or into our businesses. And talking about Moponia Mall is one of the biggest supermarkets in leave alone Soweto in South Africa. The Pick n Pay is actually one of the biggest ones there. And yes, they did get in a bit, but the community members from Soweto itself and as well as from Lenasia went out to assist and try to protect the mall where possible, Mohammed.
Okay, Nisa, I want to get back to that issue of children, and for me, it's very, very sensitive. How will this affect them going through their lives in the future? Because they are so impressionable. Many don't understand what's going on, and then you get the bigger ones who see this as a way of life, and criminality and looting and those kind of things. What do we do? How do we fix that mental state of children up until the aspect of youth?
What we do down in Durban, we have school programs for learners, Youth Peace Forum. And in these programs, we have a whole lot of ethics education. We need to look at how we can value things. And coming in with ethics, we use values and we use morals. But beside this unrest, children are currently traumatized because of COVID-19. And this is playing a havoc on their mental status. So if you are around children, you would watch their behavior. And we as adults need to be very conscious. We need to be very aware that if a child misbehaves, we need to know why they're doing it. And we should not reprimand them, but get to know what is going on. Fortunately, in the area, in the informal settlement that I work with, the plus there is that the children are not COVID positive. They didn't have any deaths, although they live one on top of the other. But their mental state is really something that we need to look at how we can address. And as we begin to look at how we can bridge the divide that children are going through, something else confront us, like this unrest at this moment. And what we've done currently is we've been phoning, and you can't get all of them, to just calm the situation, talk to the elders in the community, in the informal settlement, and tell them, please take care of your children, because we can't go out. And like I mentioned, our area was volatile. Alhamdulillah, with the pleasure of Almighty God, we have a little bit of ease today, but we don't know what is in store. But what we need to do is the NGOs, the CBOs, and anyone that is currently assisting, even in patrolling, need to take an olive leaf to the children to see how we can begin to address them. This is something which should have been done by the Department of Education, where they need to brief their educators for that calm, that compassion, that humaneness that we all need to have when we engage one another. No blame should be put onto anybody. And the majority of the people that we work with are marginalized. Now they are double marginalized. And so we look at how we can level the playing field by addressing them. We need to comfort them. And how do you comfort them? We need to know whether they have the bare essentials. And thanks to many of our other provinces, like Gauteng, has brought us bread. And the bread has been shared with the whole community. We're looking at how best we can get it to areas that don't have it. So if my stomach is full, then I know I can begin to talk about children. But if a child's stomach is not full, how do you think that child is going to respond? And now we need to look at everyone are not going to get their monthly salary because they haven't been to work for plus minus 5 days. This happens to all the helpers, the domestic workers, or anybody, even civil society workers are all going to be facing real depressive challenges. And we need to look at how we, my organization, the people that I work with, the religious leaders, our church, mosque, synagogues, temple, how do we, as people who have some value in us, some ethics, some morals, that we still believe that we can overcome what has happened, we can get together, irrespective of who we are, where we come from, our educational background, we all can come together to begin to address the challenges that we face, how we can build our own community. And I think right now what many people are doing, they are focusing on their own community, and that is safety and security. And food and other things will come in as and when it is required. But we are also grateful that many organizations have rallied to help children with food and even displaced. Now, many people's houses have been bombed, so we need to look at organizations have secured halls and spaces where we can store things. So there's a lot going on, and we need to again be grateful for the people who are helping to rebuild. As much as we'll say, why go and clean up after what has happened? But if we as civil society with a conscience don't do it, then we know what's happening in our government and how things work in our country. So the NGO sector has always, and I will re-emphasize, has always played a major role in addressing socio-political and humanitarian aids. And if we are not playing our role in addressing especially our children, my little nephew needs to be hugged all the time because they can't understand. They never heard a gunshot in their life. And all of a sudden they heard them like it was even worse than Diwali. You know, the sounds were so devastating. You and I felt it. And think of that small mind. And I think this is where we need to begin with. And maybe you on social media and others should call on civil society to give support to educators, because I work in school, and give them, because we need to build our nation, and we know we have the human resource to do it. And by the grace of our Creator and Lord, we hope that, you know, after today and tomorrow, and hopefully Monday, things will get back into normal. People will go to work. But still, when factories lost 600 workers, and people are talking, how will that factory be rebuilt? Because it's not like just taking things and putting into a store where we can buy. This is mental stress on every citizen in South Africa. We can't say anyone hasn't felt what has happened. Even if you are in far away, remote area, you heard about what has happened in Durban, how it unfolded, how it moved to Gauteng, and even Cape Town and other provinces have felt unrest. So
absolutely,
the
unrest is going to continue, and I'm going to take your plea next. I need to get onto the other guests. I want to get back to Janus, and Sylvia has connected with us on the phone. I'm just waiting for the producer to tell me where we are. Janus, how has this affected your business? Is the worst over? Is this the calm before the storm? Do you think that your business has been adversely affected in a way where people are not going to want to come into the area? You've had a lot of international guests. You've had a lot of conferences going on there. What impact is it going to have on you? I think your mic is off.
Sorry. I don't know if we're going to survive. We've been going for 25 years, and the lockdown that the president extended, this level 4, with no conferencing and things, was bad enough. We lost 800,000 rands worth of business. And then all of a sudden we have the protests. Every single one of my cold chain suppliers are no more in KZN. Bid Food, Bluff Meat Supply, everyone is gone. Their factories burnt down. A lot of my clients don't have offices in Durban anymore. They've been burnt down. We don't have a single booking at the guest house for this entire week, or next week, or the following week, and I employ 47 permanent staff.
Are you going to have to lay them off, Janus?
They all have 20-year service. So if somebody's been working for you for 20 years, you've got to pay them at least a week for every year they've worked. If you don't have money left, what do? How am I going to pay how will I pay my suppliers at the end of this month? You know, it's a thing where it's been bad. The whole lockdown has affected us and we've managed to survive, and we've taken savings and everything, put it back into the business. And this is like the nail on top. And I just don't know. I mean, I feel for my staff. Some of my staff say, how are we going to tell our kids we don't have food to give them food tonight? So I say, well, don't worry, guys, I'll get you food. But it's getting to a stage where if somebody gave me 2 breads, or somebody gave me 2 breads last night, somebody came and said they need a bread. I gave the one person one of the bread. Then my tenant said, Janus, I don't have food. I said, well, you take the other bread. So I'd rather go without a bread and make sure they have something to eat. And luckily another neighbor phoned me and said, well, here's a bread and some eggs for you. And another neighbor phoned me and said, come and have dinner at my house. And, you look at this and you're like, this can't continue. I just don't know. I mean, I just pray every day that we can make it through this. But if we have some more violent protests and some more damage to infrastructure, I can tell you now, no one will ever come back to my business again.
Yusuf, you in the health sector, right? These protests and unrest and looting is probably. But wait for me there, guys. I just want to check if Sylvia, are you there? Sylvia, hello, Sylvia. Sylvia's not there. My question to you, Yusuf, is you are in the health sector, right? These protests. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking for Sylvia. Are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud. We can hear you loud and clear. Tell us what's been happening in Phoenix. I've been speaking to the other guests. What's been happening in Phoenix? You've been holed up there. I think Phoenix is probably one of the worst hit areas from Chatsworth and Overport itself. Tell me more.
Yes, Phoenix was hit very badly. It started off on Monday night with the looting, trying to loot, coming to Phoenix and loot. But the residents looked for leadership and looked for help from the South African police, but didn't find it, didn't get it. The station commander of Phoenix Police Station was on leave. The phones were not being answered. And so the residents had nowhere to go to and couldn't rely on anybody. And they didn't see one police van. And so they just took it upon themselves to secure and protect and defend Phoenix, defend the shops, stop the looters from coming in, and also protect the residents. They could see carloads or van loads of protesters wanting to come in hundreds, coming to Phoenix and destroy. But they stopped that. Phoenix went into lockdown, went into a proper lockdown. All the entry points into Phoenix had to be locked.
Are you guys still under lockdown? What is the situation there right now as we speak?
There's a lot of calm, but alertness. I drove throughout Phoenix today, just to get a sense of what was going on, and there's a lot of hope and peace and calmness. But at night it gets very difficult. We had to bring in the Caspers. The army came in here, but not a lot of them, just one truck, and we were waiting for more. But at night it gets terrible, in terms of safety, because we see the fires in the nearby townships. Like last night, Duff's Road, there was fighting and burning, and so we see it because we are sort of on a hill, and we see them coming towards us, and the people just try to defend themselves and protect what they've worked very hard for. Because Phoenix is not a relatively wealthy community; it's workers. That worked hard for what they built and what they have, and so they protected, what they believe.
Was the president there in your area today?
The president was here today, and
what did he say? Was it pleasing to the people or was it displeasing?
They are of the mind that it was criminal activities going on. He didn't say much to Phoenix. He was supposed to come here, but we didn't know that, and he didn't. He didn't come to Phoenix at all. But Becky Seal is going to be here tomorrow, talking to the leadership of Phoenix as well as the surrounding areas, and just trying to build bridges trying to just bring some order and peace and a more relative calmness.
Well, let's wait and hear what he has to say tonight at 8:30. It's 8 o'clock right now, and you're listening to me, Mohammed Ismail, on Salam Media and also broadcasting Al Ansar. Yusuf Bulbulia, I want getting back to you there earlier. You in the health sector, right? COVID-19. It seems like everybody, and you follow my posts on Facebook, right? Don't laugh. COVID-19. Have people forgotten about COVID-19 in all this looting and in all this fuss? So, does COVID-19 really exist, or was it just a farce, number one? And number two is that, don't laugh, I can watch you there. And is this going to be the explosion of COVID-19 in KwaZulu-Natal at an exponential rate, because everybody was in close contact, nobody had on masks, and I'm talking about the looters and those in the unrest, and communities like we and everybody else, Phoenix, Chatsworth, Janus himself was out there. We are all exposed. What is your opinion on this whole COVID thing in relation to the unrest?
COVID-19 is a real thing. Yes, somehow people were they had to worry: should they wear the mask or be armed and ready for whatever is going to hit them first? Let's put it that way. There. The second thing is, from my personal opinion and from being working for a clinical trial center, the numbers you must have seen in the past few days dropped, but it didn't drop because that the cases have the cases dropped, or the COVID-19 hasn't been stuff. How can I put it? People haven't been going for testing. So you can see that people didn't go for testing. They were afraid, as well as for if you take the vaccinations and that as well that the government are offering, and that it did drop this week because people were afraid to go out into the public, and leave alone the third wave. My personal opinion, and even as well as some of the doctor, I'm not a doctor first of all, but from the doctors that we have spoken to, and when we speak at work and that. COVID basically, your third and fourth, you can say your fourth wave will be maybe in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's just, maybe I'm just overthinking about it, or maybe I'm putting too much thought in it as well. But you've
been watching the figures, so you would be able to tell us in terms of the waves, in which direction it's going.
Right. In the next week, or basically in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see a high rise of cases. You can already see it in the deaths in this past 2 week or 2 weeks, that the deaths have increased. And in the next week or 2 weeks, once I don't know if I can say once things go to norm, because I don't know what is the norm anymore. Because if it's not lockdown, it's protesting or looting or something of that sort. So I don't know, honestly don't know what is the norm per se, because I think this is our norm now. But we are going to see a high risk or a high increase of cases in the next week or 2 weeks. That is my personal opinion, and a lot of other people that I have spoken to as well.
Sylvia, tell me, have you been speaking to some of the patrollers, and what are their feelings on the ground, putting themselves in danger? Are you there, Sylvia? Sylvia? I think Sylvia is gone. Saydoon, I just want to get to you quickly there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you're a journalist. You've been on the ground. You've been speaking to some of the patrollers. What is the general feeling like them? Do they want to go back home? Do they want to take off the barriers, or do they want to continue doing what they are doing now for at least the next 3 or 4 or 5 days? Because there is some word coming through that protesters might still come back into the areas.
Yes, what they believe is that there was an orchestrated attempt to firstly to loot, then to burn, and then to sabotage our electricity and water. The substations, they came to attack the substations, and they believe that it was a planned and targeted attempt in Phoenix and in KZN, but particularly in Phoenix. We did have one of our reservoirs in the Southgate area, the entry point of Phoenix. We had that on Tuesday. and we thought that it was going to happen throughout Phoenix, but the protesters and the looters were kept at bay by the community. They did attempt to sabotage the substation right across the road from where I live. So there was a planned attempt. So as much as some of the barricades came down, but at night everything goes up again, and the partial barricades during the day are still there, and everyone's alert and vigilant. And people are hardly sleeping. They haven't slept since Monday night.
Wow. That's going to bring us to the topic of food insecurity. Saydoon, Nisa, I want to ask you about how do we rebuild? How do we rebuild? Because we're not talking about anti-Indian, anti-black sentiment. We know, we've seen the posts on social media that's going around and saying that this is an attack by the Indian people on the black people, but nobody's talking about the actual looting and how all of this started. I believe that we born in South Africa, we are South Africans, we are typically African, and we are one united community, and we should stand as that. But I think the relationship, the social cohesion has been badly eroded. How do we rebuild?
Just to let everyone know, during apartheid, we had been classified Indians. But when it came to 1994, every South African is a South African. We do have Indians currently in South Africa, but they're not you and I. We are not Indians. Our forefathers have been here, and we have been here for generations, just for people to know. But what we need to look at is, yes, there's going to be this kind of tension. But if we look at, there was a civil unrest, a protest. And if you look at the chain stores that have been destroyed, so you need to take something out of it and you want to use it as a scapegoat. And here comes the Indian, the whole racist thing that's playing out. Because if you look at, people have been looted, like we just heard what happened to our colleague here in Mayville. And so we need to, again, all the Indian NGOs, or those NGOs that have been doing program and serving our community, we're going to go ahead and continue doing that. You can see what has happened with our bread delivery and milk. It hasn't come for the Indian community. It has been shared by everybody. And so what we need to do is, we need to go back to what we were doing. And like the journalist spoke and said, our area is still going to continue to protect us. Our neighborhood wards, the CPFs, everyone is going to continue until we find security and we find that we can move forward. So I would say, gift of the givers are distributing their food parcels and hampers. Al Imdaad Trust have sent out a broadcast. They're looking for money to help the unrest. So we're going to continue doing this. We're going to build this. I am going to continue with my ethics education and my program that I do. But I think we're just going to be a little cautious on how we go about doing these things. I think we need to look at how civil society have ganged up, wrong word I'm using, to protect us. In the same light, we need to look at how we're going to together build our community. And we all need to look at some of the challenges that our colleagues on this platform that are here, how do we give support to them? I firmly believe that each one of us should knock on our neighbor's door and just check how they're doing, whoever your neighbor is. And in that way, we begin to build, because we as South Africans are natural builders. We don't have to get anyone to tell us how to build our community. We lived in harmony. And if a third force come and tell me that I need to fight with somebody, I need to block them. And so the challenges are going to go on. This is not going to be tomorrow. And if you hear the messages that are going about the race issue, I think we need to stop. And if I receive it, I mustn't broadcast it. And we need to now change the narrative. The narrative is we need to, as civil society, as NGOs, we need to build our nation once again. We've done it in the past. We have the ability to do it. And let's Monday come, we put on our boots and we go out wherever we were working and see how we can best do it. But coming again on children, I would encourage everyone.
I need you to take that point on
this
children.
Last one. I think all of us went to school. And if we can go and support our educators in school and help them out, because they are going through double and triple mental fatigue in the climate that we are in. And for them to take care of vulnerable children, it's going to be. So I was in school. I am supporting a school. Even if the school is not which school you went to, but you live near a school, just pick up the phone and speak to the principal or an educator and see how we can rebuild. That's
absolutely
the ability.
Rebuilding is key. Rebuilding is key. Janus, a question that's nagging me is, where were the councillors? Where were the councillors? Turn your mic on, Janus.
Good.
Where were the councillors? I saw one councillor standing in a queue for food, but is it not their responsibility to come out first and to find solutions in a time of unrest?
I would rather reserve comment here, because if I tell you where I think my councillor was, I might get into big trouble.
All right, let's not get into big trouble then. Maybe we should get into big trouble, and let's expose them. Let's expose them for what they are, with due respect, because I think the councillors had a duty which they failed in, to see to the community.
One of them on your show.
Yeah, I can tell you now, our councillor we have not even seen. You know, when there's a fire in Cater Crest, the newspaper will say the councillor was there. Meanwhile, I'm the first guy on scene. I'm the last guy to leave. You never see the councillor, but no, he was always there with the people in the community. I mean, the community have rallied together as one. You know, we all look after each other. We have fuel being delivered to the community. We have bread, we have milk, we have a variety of things. And, you know, we share amongst ourselves. And all I say is that is what the councillor is supposed to be doing. And our councillor is missing in action. I don't know where he is. Maybe
you in Ward 101. You in Ward 101 in Mayville. We here bordering 31 and 25. And I'm yet to see anything coming from. What I'm seeing, Janus, is the oversight visits, which is highly annoying to me. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, everyone asked me, have I seen the army? Yes, I saw the army drive around the premier at 1,000,000 miles an hour coming straight past us. Not one person has come to our area to come and have a look. Not the mayor, not the councillor, not Metro Police. I mean, the only time we saw Metro Police were today to try and remove our barricades. And I said to them,
but wasn't it because Ramaphosa was in town?
No, I can tell you now what happened is a senior city official went to Umhlanga to go and drop his daughter off, and he got to one of these barricades, and they told him, sorry, do you live in this area? He said, no, I'm here to drop my daughter off. They said, well, sorry, you cannot enter. They can either come and fetch your daughter here, or she can walk, but there is no way you're entering this area. And that is where everything, I think, started.
Well, yes, I'm rooting for you to keep your community in check, and hopefully when the elections come on the 27th of October, it's not going to be postponed, you know, they're going to have to vote for you, and that's a fact. Yusuf, I want to ask you, do we have money? Do we still have money for relief efforts, considering what's been going on? You've been involved in community relief for a very, very long time. Do we have money?
Well, honestly speaking, people don't have money. You know, COVID last year took a big bang on a lot of people. A lot of people who had jobs, they lost their jobs. Or a lot of businesses closed in that. and this looting as well has caused a major issue on everyone, right? Thanks to the Almighty, a lot of people in KZN are doing extremely good work. But over the past few days, there's a lot of organizations that have sent a lot of things from Johannesburg and various areas in Gauteng or other
And
parts.
we're very thankful for that. We're very thankful for that.
But you can see it is not as easy for people to take out because they don't know where if the things are going to happen in Johannesburg or anywhere in the country, what's going to happen. And also people don't have money because I sent out a lot of broadcasts and I tried to give advice to the community and that. And somebody sent me something yesterday or day before yesterday. It says, please ask people not to panic buy. We are begging you. People don't listen to us. They might listen to you. Please ask them not to panic buy. And I told him, you know what do you mean? He says he walked into a shop and the guy was buying 10 cases of baked beans times 12. So that's 120 tons and it's for a family of 3. So he says this is causing a huge issue for everyone doesn't have money. Today, maybe you can buy 10 cases of baked beans, but there are people who can't even buy 1 ton of baked beans in a month. And they need to budget. They need to, they maybe get their salary on a weekly basis or their wages on a weekly basis, but people don't have money leave alone for relief for themselves as well. But South Africa being an Ubuntu country where we unite, where we want to stand together with each other, we want to build each other, as the sister mentioned, that we need to see if our neighbors are good, if our community is good. That's one thing as a South African. I always tell people first, I'm born in Coronation. I live in Lenasia with the Indians, and I work with the blacks in Soweto. But at the end of the day, I'm a South African before anything else, and we need to stand with each other. And no matter how, like our brother from Mayville, Johan explained, that as a South African thing, that you'll end up giving your own bread to someone else, but somehow in some way something else will come towards you and you will be able to survive. But that is the beauty of being South African and living in South Africa, and being the fourth or fifth generation living in South Africa. I don't think I would ever change it for anything. And people will tell you, oh, go home. And I'll tell him, South Africa is my home. Lenasia is my home. I don't even know who, if I do have any families overseas, be it India or wherever it is, I might be having, but my only family is in South Africa. My brothers and sisters are in South Africa. My family is black, white, colored, Indian, Khoisan, whatever you want to name it. That is my family.
We need to keep that spirit alive. Sylvia, I want to ask you about misinformation on social media. How has that contributed to additional, or whatever the word you want to call it, to tensions that we are facing now? Misinformation has been bad, and emotions do be heightened.
Yes, it did contribute tremendously to the fear, spreading the fear and the anxiousness and just reacting. Because throughout the night, especially at night, there was something going on in various areas, and then people became frantic and started, shouting out for help, and those things were magnified because the security, the CPF and the street committees did get down to the problems and sort it out, but it was magnified within the community. People becoming afraid, people remembering the 1948 rioting, and just saying those things on the groups itself, on the sector policing group, and so that contributed. And misinformation, spreading messages without checking, without verifying, from one group to another, and so it just magnified the problem, and people reacted. And now, in hindsight, they realize, what led to some of the decision making at that time within the policing sector. So yeah, leaders have identified it. They've addressed it. Tomorrow as well, there's meetings going on with Betisila and the communities. So all of these things that we saw as problem areas are being addressed by the leadership in the community of Phoenix and the surrounding areas.
Yes, how good, how effective have communication channels been for quick reaction from patrollers? And I'm diverting from the topic a little bit, but how's communication channels been and the effectiveness of that? And after that, Yusuf, I want you to answer the very same question. Janus?
Sorry, you're talking about the communication channels
that you use the CPF as eThekwini Secure and however else. How effective has that been for when it came to assistance?
No, it's extremely effective. I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, last night we got a call from our neighboring neighborhood, Glenmore, to say the patrollers are having difficulty. They've stopped a vehicle without number plates. They need assistance, please. We get onto the Zello channel, and immediately our Alpha Bravo team was dispatched. They get there, and the situation was, how can I say, neutralized quickly, and we moved on. And when I needed help, I went onto the Zello channel. I said, guys, I need help. And I tell you, 5 or 10 minutes later, there were 60 guys assisting me. It is amazing how WhatsApp, Zello channels, and we all work independently, but we all work together, and that is the beauty of being a South African. I mean, we all just I just get goosebumps now thinking about it. It's amazing how effective things like eThekwini Secure, the control room. I can deal with the protesters. I can worry about the protesters. I can worry about getting to my wife. I don't have to worry about phoning the police. I don't have to worry about dispatching anyone or whatever. It just makes life so much easier when you're dealing in a life or death situation.
Absolutely. Yusuf, how's it been there for you guys in terms of your communication and effectiveness there too?
We've got two-way radios, normal two-way radios, but a lot of people have started using Zello as well as WhatsApp, and the communication amongst these three channels are shared, and strict protocols that are put in place in that as well. That no fake information should be sent out, or no forwarded information until someone has really checked out that the message or whatever it is correct in that. And I think with social media and with there's so many apps on our phones nowadays and our computers in that. It's awesome that we can communicate so easily. And although we are independent from everyone in that, and we are Lenasia is a very small. It's blown into a big town, but you can say it's a small city on its own per se. But the communication it has with other towns and that as well as with the major CBD, Johannesburg CBD, and that is exceptional. That if anyone does need any assistance anywhere in Gauteng or whatever it is, with one click of a button, you can have over 200-300 people on your side trying to assist you.
Absolutely. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. I want to start rounding up. Saydoon, I was going to ask you a question about, and you did partly answer it earlier. We are faced with this sort of racist sentiment. People, and what was very evident in COVID-19 was the relief efforts. There is a difference of opinion to say that why should we continue with these relief efforts if looters came in and they took everything? Do we continue? Does a community that has always been at the forefront continue the relief efforts in the face of what we are seeing? We've got about 2 minutes, so I need you to be brief there, and I want to take Sylvia on as we round up.
Absolutely. I think many of us do this not because we want to do it. One, it's a calling from our faith, our religion, to be caring and sharing. And we are supposed to be the people who give hope in this trying time we are in. If each one of us sit back and say, no, this happened to me, and we can't go out and fend for ourselves, I think then we are not using the instruments that we have to build. Because whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing it for my pleasure. I'm doing it for my Lord and Creator. I'm doing it for the community. And if that is at the back, or if that is our aim, our objective, that we want to see, like we mentioned, that I will fast and share my bread with somebody, then let them go without food. And that is the blessing that we have. And this is all communities. My background is interfaith. I've lived and grown among people from all faith, that we work together to address the challenges that we face. And so we have to just do that. And like I mentioned, with the Gift of the Givers warehouse being looted, are they going to say now?
I think, I just want to talk about it. The warehouse itself, I think it was Port Shepstone, wasn't the main warehouse, because those people were looking after the Port Shepstone one. They both passed away from COVID, so they have the issues there. But the main warehouse of Gift of the Givers is still pretty strong.
But again, let's do what we do best, and that is unite the community, serve them. And as Yusuf mentioned, we don't have enough money. But what we do is, we have a loaf of bread, give half. Because we won't be able to address the many challenges that we face. The township and the informal settlement, the people that work there get, they don't even get a wage. You can call it a stipend. And what can you meet? What can you buy from there? Second is, everyone pay the same price, whether you are lord, mayor, landlord, or a peasant, poor, you pay the same price for a loaf of bread. So in that light, calling on all South Africans, if the whole world can be praying for us, let us do what's best for ourselves and address the challenges that we face by going in and helping one another, and keep the channels of communication open, because like we heard here, if anyone needs anything, talk about it, don't feel shy. And if we have things, and this is what's happening in my neighborhood, someone's got a crate of eggs and they put it on social media, and whoever didn't have it, because the stores don't have it, there's no flour, there's no basic. And I think this is human nature that we panic buy.
Absolutely. I need to round off quickly. Saydoon, I'm very sorry to interrupt you there. Sylvia, tell me, what are you expecting the president to say tonight?
What am I expecting? I'm expecting him as, he calls it a family meeting. I'm expecting him as the father of the family to give leadership, to tell us going forward what mechanisms will be in place in terms of safety and security. How is he going to counter this? How is he going to, find the money, the investment to actually resolve some of these social issues, like the unemployment and the lack of food, basic food essentials, the businesses. So I'm expecting him to give us a plan. I'm hoping that he gives us a plan and not just tell us what the problems are, but actually give us solutions, and solutions that have been thought through so that they're actually workable on the ground, not just in policy.
Absolutely, and indeed, I hope he doesn't waffle on. The spirit of Ubuntu must be kept alive of this Rainbow Nation. You've heard my guests, you've heard the interaction, varied opinions, but yet we are on the same theme in keeping South Africa growing stronger every single day. Janus Horn, Saydoon Nisa Sayed, Yusuf Ahmed Bulbulia, and Sylvia Dayalan. Thank you very much, guys, for making this time and giving us your input. It's highly appreciated. I'm Mohammed Ismail. You're listening to me on Salam Media. You are watching me on Facebook and all the channels, wherever it's been, and we also broadcasted on Al Ansar. Ladies and gentlemen, my guests, thank you very much to all the listeners. Jazakallah for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And bye-bye, Janus. Bye-bye, everybody. I greet you in all the beautiful blessings of the Rainbow Nation. Thank you.